fought back against no DSS discrimination on behalf of disabled people everywhere. Sticking no DSS up in the window is pretty much the same as saying no disabled people and no single mums. For the last 5 years, I've been receiving housing benefit, and for the last 5 years, I have continued to pay my rent in full and on time. I have a disability which leaves me seriously ill and hospitalised for a period of time, which is why I need housing benefit. But I do have a guarantor, a landlord reference, plus photographs of my previous home in good condition that I left in. I even managed to save up an emergency fund to make sure I had a safety net should the worst happen. For all intents and purposes, I am a good tenant. However, none of this matters when you receive housing benefit and want to rent for one of the many of the landlords and letting agents up. I can't say this, Jesus, what's wrong with me? And down the country who blindly turn people away. Last year, I was looking to move and began searching online for an affordable place to rent. Despite finding numerous properties within my budget, it was made painfully clear by no DSS signs that I would be considered solely because I need housing benefit. It was that simple. After a while of seeing the same signs and being repeatedly rejected, I wouldn't even bother to apply as the outcome became all too familiar. I couldn't believe people could get away with blatant discrimination in this day and age. I cried myself to sleep thinking if anything happens to my current place, no one else is going to take me. I'll be homeless. I contacted Shelter for Advice and they agreed the practice was wrong and it was blocking perfectly good tenants like me from finding our next home. Shelter helped me to write a formal letter to 5 letting agencies asking that they stop discriminating against people and housing benefit and start treating people fairly on a case-by-case basis. I was prepared to take them all the way to court if they refused to change their ways. I'd seen, can't even say her name, Rosie something story, and was spurred on to fight my corner. Rosie received compensation from a letting agency after they refused to consider her application, so it looked like the law was on our side. Discriminating against housing benefit tenants indirectly breaches the Equality Act, as a woman and disabled people are more likely to need housing benefit. Well, not just women, men as well. Sticking no DS up in the window is pretty much saying, I've said this already. After receiving mine and Shelter's letter, the 5 letting agency agreed to stop discriminating against housing benefit tenants, Jesus, including removing no DSS filters and retraining staff. Each one agreed to consider all applications on a case-by-case basis in the future. I wonder if they still do that today. They knew we were right. On the letting agent, Martin & Co. had agreed to change their policy in 185 franchises, I can say the word, which makes a massive difference to thousands of other renters in the same boat as me. Having somewhere else secure to live is ridiculously important for anyone's mental health. Knowing that my tenancy could end at any time, I may not be able to find anywhere else, is terrifying. We must not allow the ill-judged, prejudiced landlords and letting agency make the insecurity of renting even worse. Though we do know, though, it is the government, the way they've set the system up, but every renter should be safe in the acknowledgement that they are free to apply for homes they can afford, regardless of whether they receive a housing benefit top-up. If you face DSS discrimination, recently share your story with the shelter like I did, and they might be able to help you. You can add your story to the shelter campaign to make sure no one else experiences what I went through. 25,000 people have already signed shelter petition, and by joining forces together, we're making enough noise to make a difference. I wonder what shelter this is. 1 minute. It would be handy if they had a link of what shelter. I'm gonna Google it. I might contact them. And maybe I should make a little bit of some noise. Seriously, I'm fed up. Thanks for watching my video.